Meanwhile, presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, says he's not expecting the Labour Party to pull off a surprise to win the 2023 presidential election. In the exclusive interview with Arise News, Atiku says the Labour Party will not divide the votes meant for the PDP as being suggested in some quarters.
Not that I don't miss Peter Obi, but unfortunately Peter did not consult me. We were going on and on and on. Then suddenly I heard he has announced to be in the Labour. I think he informed me 3 days after he declared for Labour. So he did not even consult me. I really don't expect, the Labour Party to, to take as much votes from the PDP as people are suggesting. We could have seen it in the last elections in Osun State. What is the performance of the Labour Party? This is a party that doesn't have a governor, doesn't have members of the National Assembly, doesn't have state assembly members, and politics in this country depends on the structures you have at these various levels, at the local government level, at the state level, and at the national level. So it is very, very difficult to expect a miracle to happen, simply because Peter Obi is in the Labour Party. They were saying through the social media, they had more than 1 million votes in Osun State. But how many votes turned out to vote for Labour Party? And then again, mark you, we are talking about social media. In the North, 90% of our people are not tuned to social media.
Well, to respond to that comment by the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, we are now joined by Peter Ameh, a Labour Party chieftain and former chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. Thank you so much, Mr. Ameh, for joining us on the news tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So, you listened to the presidential candidate of the PDP. What did you think?
I think one thing, I'm from the North, I'm from Kogi State. Okay. And one of the sad part is for an indictment that was placed by the former presidential former vice president and current presidential candidate of the Labour Party, saying that 90% of people from the North are not on social media. That's so disheartening. If you look at that kind of statement, that means he's not actually in tune with the 21st century reality about elections in Nigeria and how people are driven by passion. Because you can't separate the social fabric from the real world, because there are people behind those buttons that are pressing those buttons. And for what he said about not having governors and senators, it is because he's living in the past, how they call it, election issue, where governors are involved in monopolizing electoral structures in the state, and then ballot box snatching, ballot box stuffing, multiple thumb printing was the issue. Now with the beavers, every man with his own vote, every governor has one vote, every senator has one vote, every House of Assembly member has one vote. These are no longer the structure. The structure are now the people. I can say today, and I can be quoted any day, any time, when election is conducted today, Obi have majority of vote cast. The rest will be discussed later. Well,
the question is, how confident are you that those, social media people, social media votes can actually translate? That's the point that's been made, even by those who really care about the Peter Obi ticket and the possibility of him emerging. But that it will take a miracle, for Obi to win. What do you make of that? I mean, in your estimation? And then that structure that he talks about, don't you think really, if you don't have a foundation, what can you really build on it?
What I'm saying in essence is that, these are just a part of political, psychology, to try to make people feel Labour Party don't have structure. Labour Party has structures in the ward, in the local government, in the state, and at the national level. Because before you emerge as national chairman or the National Executive Committee, you have ward congress, state congress, local government congress, before you get to that level. So these structures exist. And for Peter Obi has come to energize that structure, to give it a new life and a new energy. And one thing, I think these are issues that we must sit down properly and discuss, because nobody, 2023 election will be a great departure from the past of how things were done. And I can tell you this, that a lot of young Nigerians, a lot of people across board are looking at how Nigerians have been, mismanaged over the years. Yes. And they are seeing a man with a vision who tell you to go and verify, with the ability to change our trajectory for prosperity.
In your words, you said the structure and now the people. And the PDP presidential candidate did say there that in Osun State, we did not see this structure translate to the vote. We've also had an off-season election in Ekiti. We did not see Labour Party step up to the plate. So what happened to the structure in those off-season elections? In
Ekiti State, we didn't really participate in the election. In Osun State, some of the issues that happened in Osun State is the fact that, there was this time energy of trying to, absorb vote from both ends. And the Labour Party got into that race very late. But with our performance and with the way we saw people accept us, we see no. If you go to social media on the day of Osun State election, you'll find out that people were even pasting their tongue that please, I voted for so person, but don't expect me to vote for you. I'm going to vote for Peter Obi. These are verifiable, how they call it, content that you can go and look for. So the dynamics with Osun State election is going to be different from 2023 elections. Just as the PDP has governorship candidates, all their governors today are governorship candidates, except those who are not coming for second term. Right. Then also does the Labour Party has governorship candidates across Nigeria, state house of assembly members across Nigeria, and national assembly members. There are people from PDP and APC that have decamped to PDP or to Labour Party who are representing the Labour Party right now as I speak at the National Assembly. So our expansion is not just something that one of the beauty of the current electoral act is that we have 7 more months. And with what we are doing with the current momentum that we have, if well managed and well structured into making sure that gives Peter Obi victory, I'm very certain that victory will be ours come 2023.
And when Atiku Abubakar says Peter Obi really shouldn't have left the PDP, that as a matter of fact, he wasn't even consulted. Peter Obi did not consult him, that he was leaving the party. What do you make of that? And based on this, the report we read earlier about the possibility of a rerun with the Obi and Kwankwaso factor, does it give you any, sense of confidence and encouragement?
The facts are there in the public. The politicians can try to deny it, they can try to play about it so that they can play psychological war games with the electorate outside. But the facts are very clear. You could go walk on the street and take your mic and ask people and do opinion sampling, and you find out that the facts that Obi is inside the race and is leading the race. Currently, is a candidate to beat, is a leading candidate. What I'm saying is that if you look at what the parties have said, you will know that Labour Party is working day and night. As I speak to you, every zone is currently been holding meeting, and there's this verification exercise that we're doing in all the zones. From last week it has started. Kogi will be next week Thursday. So this issue of the performance using Ekiti, using Osun as a base for justification for what will happen in 2023 does not hold water.
But you've not responded to the question of that Peter Obi shouldn't have left the PDP as far as
no, Peter Obi took the best decision that is for the sake of Nigerians. He took the best decision for the sake of this country. And one thing I want to tell you, if Peter Obi had stayed back, he wouldn't have gotten this momentum, because it's about justice, it's about peace, it's about creating equal level play field for all Nigerian citizens, making sure that everybody have the opportunity to govern this country in a very way through the peaceful vote of the electorate.
Thank you so much, Peter Ameh. Or some people will say opinion polls do not translate to election results. Thank you so much for being on the news tonight and sharing your thoughts. We do appreciate it.